Flow Pro offers free money management advice to help you take control of your finances. And now here's your host, personal finance enthusiast and licensed insurance broker, James Barber.
Good evening. Welcome to Oregon Cash Flow Pro. My name is James Barber. I'm here to help you maximize your cash flow. How's everybody doing tonight? Let me know that the sound is working. It looks like it's working on my end. Just want to make sure. I know I say it every time, but that's because too many times I've talked for 10 minutes without the sound being on. I'm not going to do that anymore. Awesome. Wow, what a day. What a day. Great day for Tesla, taking off. Terrible day at the nation's capital today with the mobs, the protesters mobbing the Capitol building. Excuse me. All kinds of things interesting. Bitcoin hitting an all-time high again. Bitcoin, I think it hit 36,000 earlier. I have not looked at it for the last few hours. Let's see where Bitcoin is. Bitcoin. Oh, Bitcoin's over 37,000 now. Wow. Very nice. Ethereum over 1,200. So, earlier today in the market, when the protesters stormed the Capitol and Congress had to shut down, the whole market turned red. Everybody started selling. Profits went to losses very quickly in my portfolio. What I decided to do was I decided to exit out of a few positions in my stocks, even some that had went negative, and put that money into crypto. So I ended up moving 7,000 out of shares that I had into Ethereum and Bitcoin. And it turned out to be a pretty good move. I'm up 3.5% on the Ethereum that I moved in. And I'm up 5% on the Bitcoin. So that's a pretty good way to turn a bad day into a pretty decent day. I mean, it's not very much money, but you're talking about $300 I'm up since I moved that in today. So that worked out pretty good. Olive Vertical Studios, good evening. When Tesla hit 771, you were looking for a notification. Yeah, I was doing live stream. We were already live streaming when it hit 771. That was a good day today. That was a lot of fun up until everything started to come down. Oliver, is that the same Oliver? Do you have two accounts here? Or are you two different ones? Oliver says, hey James, Tesla's the only thing keeping you sane during these times. I hear you. It's like the safety. Tesla's the safe place. I tweeted out today after all of that happened. What happened was Tesla, the whole market's crashing. Tesla, slowly creeping down. It ended up coming down, hit 750, and then it went back up to 162. Okay, different accounts. All right, cool. Just making sure. So Tesla hit 750 and then went back up to 762. And I had tweeted, I said, hang on a second. I said, got to give it to Tesla fans. They saw the Capitol being stormed, saw Tesla drop 750, and decided to buy more Tesla. It was pretty funny. That was my thoughts at the time. So Oliver says, if I had 100 shares of Tesla, how would you approach covered calls? You want to get into it. And he also says, you were ready to buy on that last minute dip, but your supervisor called you too late. Oh no, bummer. Okay, so if you have 100 shares and you want to approach covered calls, there's a number of different approaches that you can take selling covered calls. I happen to like this. I like selling covered calls a lot. I view it as an opportunity to maximize your cash flow. Anytime when we talk about maximizing cash flow, and so I love this question because it fits in with the whole concept of my channel, maximizing your cash flow. Everything I do, I want to be thinking about how do I maximize my cash flow? How do I make things do multiple jobs that can lead to financial benefits or other benefits. You know, maybe you get to spend more time doing other things that you like. So in this case, if you've got 100 shares that are just sitting there and you're going to hold them forever, what are you going to do with them? You can sit there and just wait for them to grow until eventually, years down the road, you sell them to somebody and live off of the income, or you give them to your beneficiaries as a what is the term for that? I forget what you call it. Anyways, you give it to them upon your death, right? So there's a few things you can do with that, but it's inheritance. There you go. Thank you. But you're doing one job. I mean, that stock's doing one job. It's just sitting there gaining value. Now, some people can borrow against that stock. You could borrow against that stock utilizing margin, and that's one way to put that stock to work for you while it still stays in your portfolio. So you can borrow against that stock, use that for something else, right? That's what margin is in your account. You could get a margin call if that happens, though, in which case, you know, your stock price drops, and now you get a margin call. You have to sell some of that stock, or you have to deposit more money to cover that margin. But that is one way that we can use the stock in our portfolio to do more than one job. It's going to sit in there and grow, and I'm going to be able to borrow against it to do other things that I need to do. Another way that you can put that stock to work for you is to sell covered calls against it. Selling a covered call is giving somebody else the opportunity to buy your 100 shares at a certain price or higher. Or actually, really, it's it's really at any price. You're giving them the option to buy your shares at a certain price. Doesn't matter where the stock price is. So let's say Tesla right now is in the 750 range. I think it's actually, all right, we'll work with some real numbers here. Tesla is at 763. So Tesla's at 763, and if somebody wants to buy your shares, you go to the options market. If you want to give somebody the opportunity to buy your shares, you go to the options market and you choose a strike price. You say, okay, I will sell my shares to somebody at this price on this expiration date. What happens is that person that buys that call from you, they have the opportunity to buy those shares from you, 100 shares. An option is 100 shares. So they can buy those 100 shares from you at that strike price for that expiration date. So in this case, let's say the expiration date is this Friday, January 8th, and the strike price is $800. So somebody says Tesla's at 763. I think there's a good chance it could get to 800 and maybe even higher than that. So I want to buy that option from somebody. That option right now at $800 for January 8th, you could sell that or you could buy it for about $196. So Tesla's at 760. If the price goes above $800, that person you sold the option to would be able to buy your shares for $800 a share. So $80,000. They're going to give you $80,000, and you still get to keep that $196 that they paid you for that option. If the price ends up below $800 on Friday, most likely they're not going to exercise their option. They're just going to take the loss. Or if they really want to own 100 shares, they'll buy the shares at whatever the price is because it's lower than the $800 per stock. So you get to keep that premium. Regardless of what happens, whether they buy the shares from you or not, whether they exercise or not, you get to keep that $196 premium. So the reason people like to sell these covered calls is because you're guaranteed to get money right there, and you only lose your shares if you make more money. In this case, the share price has to go up by $37 a share. So $3,700 in order to get above $800, in which case somebody would exercise those shares. Now, theoretically, the person who buys that option could exercise that option at any time. They just have to pay you the $800. Doesn't matter what the share price is. But they can exercise that option at any time before the expiration date. Once it expires, that opportunity is gone. So for the person who buys it, they have what we call time decay, which is where you're asking about. They have what we call time decay. The person who buys it, that option loses value every day if that stock price trades sideways or goes down, because it's $40 away from that $800 option price. Now, as the seller of the option, you like that time decay. You actually want that to expire worthless most of the time. I mean, maybe you just want to sell your shares. In that case, you don't. You would like the share price to go up, but still, you're going to make money either way. So the time decay works for you if you're a seller. So you get that premium and you get to keep it even if it doesn't sell. So what a lot of people will do, there's a few different tactics that you can take in order to maximize the use of those shares. If you want to keep the shares, you don't want to sell the shares, you might do a really high strike price, one that it is highly unlikely to hit. So this Friday is 2 days away. Tesla might actually hit 800 by this Friday. So if you wanted a more safe bet, you might do a strike price of $830, in which case you get $46 for that option. The higher up, the farther away you go, the least likely the underlying stock price is to reach that price, and you'll have to sell your shares. So a lot of people do this for regular income. They'll do a really high strike price, just collect that small premium, and then do it every single week. Other people might like to test the waters a little bit, do a strike price a lot closer. Doesn't matter. They may not care if they sell the stock because they get to keep the premium, and they'll just sell it again. They'll buy the stock back and sell it again the next week. In this case, we're at 760. We're at 763. Let's say that I'm happy with making $1,000 between now and Friday on those shares. I could sell the 770 call for $788. If Tesla goes above $770, that option is going to get exercised by Friday. I get to keep the $788, but the stock went up by $7 to get past that price. So I'm ultimately going to make about $1,500 by doing that. Now, my break even there is $777. That means I don't lose out on any upside as long as Tesla doesn't go above $777 by Friday. I made a really good trade. Even if I sell my shares, I get that $788 and I can buy back those 100 shares and still be in a better position. So that's what we look at. And you got to kind of weigh your approach to trading as to how far out of the money you pick that strike price so that you can do it and make some money. You don't have to sell this week. The farther out you go, the more premium you get for it. So you might say, you know what? I'm sitting on 100 Tesla shares. It would be really nice if I could make $1,000 a week. Can I make $1,000 a week if I sell an option to buy my shares out a month? Well, let's look. February 5th. We would only need to make, that's February 5th is a month away, 4 weeks, right? I would only need to make $4,000. That would pay me $1,000 a week for that option. I can get $4,000 by selling the 810 strike price by February 5th. So that ensures that I'm going to make $1,000 a week between now and then. And I'm not going to sell my shares for less than $810 a share. So I'm guaranteed, if I lose my shares, I'm guaranteed to make $47 a share. So $4,700 plus the $1,000 a week that I just got. That would be $8,000 by February 5th. $8,700 by February 5th by selling that 810 strike price. Now, maybe Tesla doesn't end up over 810 and I just get to keep the $4,000. That would be a pretty nice scenario if I actually want to just keep the shares. And in the off chance that I don't get to keep them, I still make a pretty good profit. So really good ways that you can use that and sell covered calls. If you want a more specific scenario, let me know. Let me see what you're writing in here. Yeah, you do keep the premium. Don't have to worry about time decay. Do you suggest doing covered calls at least a month in advance? What's the best expiration date? So the time decay, as a seller, you get the most value within the last 2 weeks of an option. So I have a picture of this. Where did I send that picture? I might be able to share this picture. All right, let me share this picture. All right, I shared it on my Twitter. I'm going to pull my Twitter up. And I'll share the picture on here so we can see it. It'll be a lot easier if we see the picture. All right, let me find that picture. Just a moment. Oh, not in here. Give me just a moment, and I will pull this up. Don't know if I have a picture one in here. Let me add one. That's not what I wanted to put up there. Let's change that picture. Where did I save it? There it is. Okay. Here we go. All right, this illustrates. Let me get this. Okay, so time decay, you can see 120 days to 90. You don't lose very much. This is the decay in value. This is it coming down in value. 60 days to 90, it starts to pick up a little bit. 90 to 60. 60 to 30 gets a little bit steeper, but here the last 30 days, it kind of falls off a cliff. And so you lose, if you're the purchaser of options, you're going to lose the most value if it's outside of the money during the last 30 days. Because there's no more time value. Time is running out for that stock to catch up to it. And it makes sense because if you think about where you expect a stock price to go to, 4 months away, you're really optimistic. that it can hit a higher outside of the money price. The closer it gets to that expiration day, the more nervous you get as to whether it's going to get to that price if it hasn't reached it yet. And so the value of it falls. You're not going to feel comfortable paying more money for something that you really don't feel like it could get to. And so that's why we see the value go away. Because everybody else sees the same thing. And they know that, okay, nobody's going to pay me that much for that option. The odds of it getting to that are, minuscule. So they tend to go away, and the closer you get to that expiration day, the more obvious it becomes that there is no way that that's going to be able to make some money. So that should answer your question as far as time decay and the best time to sell. So the best time to sell, when you look at your options, you want to take a look at theta. Theta is the time value of those options. So and it gives you the options per share price. So all of the options are 100 shares, but the theta will give you for one share price. So if it says 51 cents, that's the equivalent of $51 a day that you're going to lose on that option due to time decay. Now, as the seller of that option, you like that price to be really, really high. So when it comes to Tesla, when we look at that February 5th option where it's worth $4,000, the time decay on that 810 option is 101. So it's $101 a day that it loses value. Let's look at next Friday's option. Same time, or same amount, $810 option. It's only $863 for that option. Time decay is 113. So it's an extra $13 a day. But that's still pretty far outside the money. Let's get a little bit closer to inside. Let's get a little closer to the money. If we go to the 780 strike price, now that one loses $139 a day. It gets a lot faster. January 8th, so this Friday, we'll go back to that $800 call. This one's not going to be as high. No, it is as high. This one's $172 a day. So expiring in 2 days, $172 a day that goes down in value. So really, really fast. We've got some 770 strike price that ends this Friday. Out of the money, it loses $317 a day. That's assuming the stock price doesn't go up. Now it won't lose that much if it's going up, but if it goes sideways or down, it'll lose that much. So Oliver says basically a short time frame with covered calls is like a squeeze against the buyer. Exactly. Yep. Is there an opposite of covered calls? There's such a thing as covered puts? Same logic. Sort of. So it's not called a covered put. It's called a cash covered put. So on a call, it's just a covered call. You're covering it with shares. With a put, somebody's buying the option to sell you shares at a certain price. Now, it doesn't do you any good to have shares in that case. You have to have the cash to buy the stock that you promised to buy when you sell that put. So it's a little bit different. In that case, you don't own the shares, sit on the cash, sell the put, and a lot of people can make income that way as well. So hopefully that helped you out. I'm going to move on, see what other questions we got going on here. Nick, good evening. Tony, good evening. Forrest, good evening. You went to Tesla and did okay. Nice, nice. BDN, hello. Invest in space, you'll be a millionaire soon. Space, yeah, maybe. But space kicked my butt a couple of weeks ago, and I lost quite a bit. Quite a bit on them. David, how's it going? You like TAN? Nick, you need a bigger account. Also wasn't aware that's how margins worked. You're learning. All right. You guess you'll keep working what you got till someday you can get there. All right. All right. Jones says, rolling the call is also possible if you want to keep the shares. Yes. How did I miss that? So, if you don't want to sell the shares, but you sold a covered call, and now the stock price, for some reason the stock price goes up higher than you were expecting, and now you're sweating because you don't want to sell the shares. You just wanted to collect the premium. You went really high, and now you can't buy it back because it's too expensive. You don't want to buy it back because the cost of that option got so expensive. You sold it for cheap. Now it's expensive, and you still don't want to give away the shares. There is a way to get out of it, and we call it rolling. You roll out and you roll up. So what that means is you're going to buy back the option that you sold, and you're going to do this as one trade. You buy it back, and you go to the next week, and you move up a little bit, and you find a higher strike price that you can get the same or more money for, so you can still get a credit. So in this case, let's say I sold the 770, now let's say I sold the 760 strike price for this weekend, for this Friday. I sold it for $200 last week, okay? When the price for Tesla was a lot lower. And we thought, oh, there's no way it's getting up to 760. Well, it got up over 760. And now that option is $11.75. So if I don't have $11.75 to just buy the option back, or if I just don't want to, I will do a roll. And so I would buy that one back, and at the same time, I'm going to look at next week, and I want to be able to get more than $11.75. So if I look at, I can roll it to the next week and up. So I can sell the $7.95 for $1,200. So that would take me out of the deal that I was in, which was promising to give away or sell 100 of my shares for $770. This puts me in a position to where I don't have to sell it unless it goes over $7.95, and I get a little bit of a credit because it only cost me $11.75 to get out of the other one. I get $1,200 for this one, and so that means I get $25 for rolling it. The downside is I got to roll it out a week, right? So I miss out on really selling another covered call and making a few $100 that week. I'm only making $25 that week, but at least I got to keep my shares, and I don't have to worry about anything. So that's an option. We call that rolling the call. So thanks, Jones, for pointing that out. Can't believe I missed saying that. Nick likes the info, but not up on the terms. What is rolling the call? Okay, I just explained that. Nick, I don't think puts work that way, but since I'm not 100%, you're listening. Puts do work that way as well, actually. So if you're selling a put, you can roll a put the exact same way. So if you wanted to roll a put, let's say you sold a put, stock price came down, and now you're going to be on the hook for buying one if you don't get out of it right away. Well, you can always buy that one back, sell another one the next week, but this time you're going to sell it for a lower strike price. Because when it comes to puts, as the share price comes down, those ones that were lower before get more expensive. And so you should be able to find another one that gives you some credit and is still outside the money, so you don't have to end up buying some shares. So a lot of people do that, and they can do it to a really good effect, earning an income. In fact, you can probably earn, doing puts or calls like that, you could probably earn 1 to 2% a week. Maybe more, depends on how close to in the money you want to get to. Sometimes you can earn 5% a week or more. Just depends on how you want to go about it. But that translates into what? 50 to 100%, 200% a year if you can do it every week. So it can be pretty lucrative. You just got to get that strategy down, figure out what works for you. And of course, there's going to be some weeks where you're going to miss out because you got to roll it. if you don't want to actually take the shares. Now, if you're in a position where you don't care about owning the shares or not, and you have the money, you could just buy the shares, sell the covered calls near the money until it goes through your price, and then you just do the same thing again. And you can easily get a 5% return doing that, as long as the stock is moving up in value. So you want to do that with something that's bullish. You want to do that with a stock that you're bullish on, that is going to either trade sideways or go up. It can go down a little bit, but you don't want one that just drops in value if you're not wanting to own the stock. If you're wanting to own the stock, it doesn't matter. But if you don't want to own the stock and you just want to make some income, you want to go out, you want to be at a high enough price that you don't end up owning the stock. Or in this case, a put that's low enough that you don't end up owning the stock. Theta is your extrinsic value. Not all theta is extrinsic value. Oh no, yes it is. Yeah. Theta. I think that's right. I think theta is all the extrinsic value. There's still theta on things that are in the money, but that should just be the extrinsic value portion of what's in the money. So yeah, I would say that's correct. XF1 driver, good evening. UONE possible run up tomorrow. All right. I have no idea what that one is. David says, hi, you still own 8 contracts of 900 call for the January 29th option. Nice. If there wasn't riots, you think Tesla would have been good. Could have closed out with 5% for today. Yeah, remember we talked about that a little bit. I think you're right. If there wasn't the riots, Tesla probably would have stayed up higher. And, probably a good idea to take maybe one of those off the table. I don't know. 5%, I know it doesn't feel like very much gain, though. Right? 5% is not that much gain. But it's better than a loss. So, I think there's still a good chance we may still see some increase. Just don't know. The way Congress was going, it looks like this whole event today might have united Congress more so than it has been. There's a lot of people talking now about the realities of the election and how there wasn't fraud, and rather than them sitting by quietly letting Trump make these outrageous claims that were not backed up, and every single court case that they went to got thrown out because they weren't providing any evidence of fraud, but yet they keep talking about it to all the people, getting people to believe that there was fraud. They're acknowledging that. Mitch McConnell acknowledged it, and the threat that it represents if the vice president was going to do what Trump was demanding him do. So that can make a difference. I mean, it might calm the markets down tomorrow, and we might see a turnaround. So we can only hope. Oliver, you're welcome. I hope I explained it well. Nick, so how are you telling it's losing that much value per day? Is it displayed like that on Robinhood? Yes. Or is it me not knowing how to read it? Yeah, it's on Robinhood. So on Robinhood, I mean, it's on all of them, but on Robinhood, if you click on the option price, now you got right here in the middle, it says limit price, and it's green. If you tap on that, it opens up the stats. And you scroll down a little bit, or I guess you don't have to scroll. The theta is right down here. So there's all the Greeks. They're called the Greeks. So whatever your brokerage firm you use, just find out where the Greeks are at, and you'll find theta. Rapid fire questions are okay. Blah, blah, blah. Good evening. BDN, you were kidding. Sorry, that flight never take off. I forgot what you had said. What'd you say? Oh, invest in space, you'll be a millionaire. Okay, yeah. That flight didn't take off. Cost me a lot. So maybe avoid it. That reminds me of the old saying, how do you make $1 million in the stock market? You start off with $2 million. That's how you become a millionaire with space. You start off as a billionaire. All right, I just went over how to roll the call option. So rolling is like pulling out, readjusting the strike price and date. Yeah, basically, and you really can only roll if you're selling it, because you're gonna be able to buy it back and sell another one and still get a credit. If you buy one, you're just gonna lose money when you sell it. If you're not making money on it, you're just gonna lose money if you sell it. And you can open up another one, but it's not considered rolling it. Stock Journey, good evening. David, it's crazy. Options is like legal gambling. Yep. And it's just as fun. Stock says, Neo took a good dip on the attack today. You definitely grabbed a few shares before Neo Day. That was a nice time to buy, and it looked like it recovered a bit, too. I think it recovered a bit. Stock, you have a very good feeling the way Congress is speaking right now will flourish tomorrow. They, for the first time in months, are on the same page. Good. Yeah, that was the impression I was getting. So hopefully that's what happens. BDN, better to not have all blue or red in Congress and Senate. Oh, of course. I mean, you don't want to have all of one. We don't have all of one. We have like almost half and half, which is kind of terrible though. Although it works out good if they have to work together. That's when it works out good, because you tend to get better legislation when you have to listen to the other side. If you have so much control that you can ignore the other side, that's when it gets to be a problem. For the most part, that's when it gets to be a problem. Depends on who's on the other side. Nick, you're the man, understood all that. Thanks. You're welcome. You're welcome. Stock. Okay, with 50-50, you can work with that. All right. What do I expect on Neo Day? I expect Neo to announce or to release their new vehicle, their sedan, possibly 2 sedans. They're supposed to have at least 1, maybe 2 coming out this year. So that'll be really good. It'll be exciting. We'll find out the prices of these if they're not already out there. I also expect them to announce or to release their 150 kilowatt battery pack, which could mean a lot more range. Could mean more power. Not exactly sure. So when that comes out, we will find out. Stock. You see a slight decline on Neo Day itself. Your plan is if it's at 60 or above, you sell a portion of your shares. If below 55, you stay put. Hey, that sounds pretty good. Hey, it's okay. Everybody can answer. I'm not the only one that has a point of view on this situation. Everybody's welcome to share. I don't have a problem with that. I think I don't expect Neo to get over 60 by Neo Day. So I like that plan. If it does get over 60, yeah, it's probably going to come back before the earnings call. So the thing that we have is we have Neo Day coming up on the 9th, which is this Saturday, and then we have the earnings call coming up at the end of the month. And I expect to have a really good earnings call with Neo. Some people don't because there's rumors of fraudulent delivery numbers, but I don't know. I'm not going to buy into those until I see it. I expect Neo to get good sales numbers, and there's no reason why they wouldn't be at the numbers that they're presenting, in my opinion. So we'll see how it ends up, but I expect Neo to do good things and their stock price to go up quite a bit this year, along with XPEV. We just need to see another quarter of good numbers, like the actual earnings. I think when that happens, people are going to start to believe, and those prices are going to go up. They're already really highly valued compared to what they've been producing, but as those production numbers go up, it's going to justify it. And so yeah, I'm excited to see what that does. Blah blah blah. Just listening in while you work on your law blog. Oh, cool. Tim G, what happened to Tesla today? It dropped a lot. It rose a lot first, and it wasn't just what happened to Tesla. The whole market crashed. So if you hadn't turned on a TV anywhere or a radio, a bunch of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol today and shut down Congress. A woman was shot and killed. It looked like she was with a group of folks that were breaking glass, trying to get into one of the offices there, and it sounded like a law enforcement officer had shot her, and she passed away. So all of that happened today. It was a madhouse in the Capitol. It's all over the news items, and the whole market tanked as soon as that started. So it didn't have a chance to recover before the end of the day, although Tesla recovered before the end of the day. Tesla went down to from 774, all the way down to 750, and then it bounced back up to 760, and it ended the day at 764 after market. So Tesla found some buying power. I mean, Tesla found some support. Pretty good support, in my opinion. I was impressed. So, yes, tomorrow could be a pretty good day. Could be a good day. Now, I especially think it could be a good day if Congress continues to put on a front that they're united in moving forward with Biden as president. If that changes, then we could definitely see some more instability. If we get mobs of people that go and overrun other state capitals, that could provide some more instability. I mean, there's obviously things that can affect what's going to happen tomorrow. So keep an eye on the news. Don't sleep on it. Oh, wait. Keep an eye on the news. Don't snooze. Or don't snooze on the news. I don't know. Something sounds good there. Stock. Big FOMO tomorrow if we start green at the start. Yeah, could be. You think this delisting is smoke and mirrors. The new presidency, things going on are just completely unprecedented. Can we just have one normal day? What's normal anymore these days? Vasile, if you have 100 shares of NEO, how much can you make a week on covered calls for NEO? So unfortunately, NEO is not necessarily unfortunately, but NEO is way less expensive than Tesla. And the options don't bring anywhere near the same amount. But on a percentage basis, you still get a pretty good amount. Fun fact, NEO, more people bought options on NEO last week than Tesla. And that's like, Tesla's usually the number 2 company for options in the whole market. The number 1 company is Apple, consistently. More people buy and sell Apple options than anything else. But Tesla is usually number 2. Which is unusual because Tesla is such a high price. But a lot of money gets built into that because of that. So NEO, if you had 100 shares, you could sell a covered call for this Friday, $54. That would be $3 more than where it's at now. And you could get $87 for it. Not too bad. Not too bad. Now, with NEO Day coming up, it might go through $54, so you might want to go a little bit higher. Or you might want to wait till next week, January 15th. The $54 option price for next week is $291. So maybe you would go a little higher. Maybe you go $55 for $258. Or let's say $60. Let's say you're happy to sell your shares at $60. You could sell that for $152. So let's do quick math here. NEO, the stock itself, is $5,000. So that's like 12 Teslas. 13 Tesla stocks. So for next week, if we sell 13 Tesla stocks, if we were to sell 13 of these at $1.50, that's a pretty dang good return. 15, doing quick math here. That's the equivalent of $2,050 for 100 shares of Tesla. Now, that is how much outside the money? $19 outside the money. Where's Tesla at $19 outside the money next week? Tesla. Tesla at $19 outside the money. That would put us at $780 strike price. You only get $1,600 for Tesla for being outside the money that much. That's a pretty good return. Now, it's likely that the IV on NEO is higher than Tesla right now because of NEO Day, which would demand a higher price. Anytime you have a binary event, meaning there's an event that's going to happen at a specific time, and the stock can either go up or down in response to it, the options price get more expensive. So, let's see. Oliver, what makes XPEV different than NEO? The business model, the cars that they share, the self-driving that they are trying to get, basically everything, except they're both Chinese stocks. That's the only thing that's similar about them. They're both Chinese companies. Their both major market is in China. Neither one of them have really done any sales outside of China. XPEV did export some to Europe, but it was only like a handful. So that's, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of differences between the two. NEO has a bigger market cap as well. NEO has more shares out on the market. So NEO produced more vehicles by a little bit, not by a whole lot. But because of that market share, I would actually think that they would be more along closer to the same price. Maybe even XPEV should be priced higher based on the underlying fundamentals and the number of shares out there. But that's not how it works, because people see a lot more potential in NEO, I think, than they do XPEV. Stock says, hey brother, what's your energy play for the new administration if you have one picked out? You were thinking PEC, currently around $10. What's PEC? Let's take a look. I know I've put it in my watch list, but I haven't looked into it. PEC is... oh, it's a SPAC. It engages in providing solar engineering, procurement, and construction services to the companies in the country. Oh yeah, that was that one. It's been around since 2014. It's got 50 employees, headquartered in Vermont. Yeah, I don't know much about that one. I mean, since it's a low price, might be a good idea to get in on it. I'll tell you, the other companies that were at that low price just recently, Clean Spark and Blink. And those are both EV stocks that do charging stations. And Blink shot up to $50 very quickly, and Clean Spark is now at $37. These stocks traded at $10 for the whole year almost until 2 months ago, month and a half ago. So pretty crazy shoot up in price. So I don't know how long PEC's been around, but that might be a possibility. A lot of people are trying to get in on that space because it is expected to expand quite a bit with the new administration coming in. So my energy play, Tesla's my energy play. Tesla, I'm in on Tesla, NEO, and XPV. Like, those are the three that I want to be a part of this year. I will probably dabble in some other stuff, but I like those ones. I like those ones quite a bit. BDN, this is the better one. Call Tesla, January 20, 2023, $400, 100 share. You would like to do that again. Yeah. That one was a nice play. That was a nice play. Made some good money on that one. That's the one that I'm currently sitting on as well. It's an expensive one right now, though. You got to pay a lot for that. Got to go a lot higher strike price if you want to get something similar. Stock Journey. Figured you would take a stab at it. Oh, yeah, Clean Spark. You've been seeing a lot of that. Yep. We'll never forget the day we watched Tesla Inclusion. You wanted to record it. Crazy excitement. If you watched it on my channel, it's recorded. You just got to go back, check my videos. It's on there. You can go relive the magic. Go relive the magic. Damien, what is your 2021 price target for Tesla? We're in 2021 right now. At what time during 2021 are you interested in? Stock Journey, you will relive it this weekend. Nice, nice. That was fun times. That was fun times. Yeah, let me know when in 2021 are you talking about, Damien? End of the year? If we're talking end of the year, that's a tough one. We're going to have end of the year. Okay. We're going to have 2 new factories come online. Cybertruck may start to get produced. That's going to be exciting. Semi may start to get produced. We got the 4680 battery cells that are going to be coming out, and those should be in full production. We've got Giga Berlin that will have started, and Giga Texas. And I think we're referring to Texas as Terra Texas now. Maybe. It's a big one. Shanghai is going to be pumping out at maximum volume. We're going to be beating expectations. We just had a price target raised to 810. If Tesla kills this earnings report end of this month, you're going to see, well, most likely you'll see between now and then, you're going to see other companies or other analysts raise their price target just so that they're not chasing a good earnings report. They want to get out ahead of it, which is going to cause the stock price to go up. That means after the earnings, people who missed out on it, the analysts are going to come in and try and justify their price raises. So the price is going to come up after earnings. Benchmark funds that didn't buy into Tesla, thinking that Tesla's going to drag down the S&P, are going to start to realize, oh crap, we're missing out on delta to the S&P. That either threatens their job or their bonuses. They're going to have to buy in. That could potentially tie up another 20% of Tesla's float. If all of those things start to happen, it's going to be like another short squeeze. The stock price is going to keep going up. That's kind of what we're seeing happening right now. Now, it doesn't mean there can't be a hard retracement on some major event where everybody decides to get out for some reason. It can't mean, there's a possibility Tesla fails on meeting some of its goals. But if we see that short squeeze happen, I don't know. We could have another year this year like last year. I mean, realistically, we could hit 1,500 this year if that happens. Now, I'm not calling that. I don't know if it's going to happen. A few days ago, I was under the impression that $1,000 by September was not very realistic. I thought that by today we would probably be back down to around 700, maybe a little bit lower than that as we settle into the new year and we wait to start going up for earnings. But that didn't happen. We've only gone up every day this year. So I have no idea what to expect. No idea. But it's going to be a fun ride. Apollo, what's up? How have you been, man? Good to see my channel has grown. Last time you checked in was before 4K. Yeah, we're over 4K now. I think I'm at, 4,400. We've been adding 30 subscribers a day or something like that. Let me see where I'm at. 4,400. 4,408. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been adding about 30 or 40 subscribers a day. It just depends on the day. But a lot of excitement and a lot of new people finding the channel. It's a lot of fun. You guys got to remember, if you like and you want to support the channel, become a member. Join it. It's as little as 99 cents through YouTube or $1 through Patreon. But if you do it through YouTube, you get that green name and the red badge that shows everybody that you support the channel and you're a veteran here of the channel. The red badge changes color over time too. Some people have yellow badges already. After a month, you get it's a gold badge, actually. After a month, you get a gold badge, and then it goes to purple, I think, or blue. Purple, and then blue, and then black, and then green. Something like that. A lot of different colors. But, yeah. If you guys want to support the channel, be sure to join. Become a member. Damien, thank you. Thank you. I'm the best. What's my name? My name is James. My name is James. Much appreciated. Oliver wants a badge. All right, man. You got to join the channel. So to join the channel, right next to the subscribe button is a join button. It's as simple as that. Now, if you're on a computer. If you're on a phone, you will probably not see a join button. If you go into the show description, right at the top of that, I give a link and I say, join the channel here, click this link. It'll take you to your browser and then you'll see the join button. So join us, show your support. It does help me out. It helps to sustain the channel, but it also shows everybody else that you're enjoying the information and you're supporting the channel as well. Brian says, you got a price target, $800. Who has a price target? It just says has a price target. Oh, you're saying Brian has a price target, 800. Soon 1200 in a few months, 1500 Q3. We might see 2000 by the end of 2021. You're just hoping. So I was actually about to say we might make 2000, and then I was thinking, no, not 2000. But it could be realistic. Like we would have hit, if we get the same growth that we got last year, we would hit 2000 this year, and we would split again. Because last year we went from like 300 or 200 up to the equivalent of where we're at now, which is 3,000. Pre-split price, we're at the equivalent of 3,500. That's just crazy. Or actually over 3,500 now. We're at like 3,700. So it went up massively. And then we did the split. So, I mean, realistically, we could see 2,000. What would 2,000 be? That would be 10,000 pre-split. 3,000, that would be 10x. I guess 300, what is that? 300 to 3,000. Is that 300%? No, it's 1,000%. We went up 1,000%. So now, if we go up 1,000% of where we're at now, 7,700. So 7,700, divide that by 5. Hey, I was right there, 1,500. So 1,500. That would be like another year like we had last year. That's definitely a possibility. All right, Damien, thanks for joining the cash flow community. Welcome to the club. Manuel, red badge of courage. There you go. BDN, any idea about the bloody Hyliion? You've got 100 shares. Don't know what to do with that. You got to sell the covered calls, my friend. We tried doing that a while back, and you kind of got bored of it because it's not very much money. But it's a low-priced stock, and really the only thing to do is to hold it until it goes up, or put those shares to work, sell those covered calls. Vasil, dang, for 1,500, that would be amazing. Would Tesla consider another stock split then? Quite possibly. Quite possibly. I don't know if they would do it this year, but maybe next year. David says, yeah, true. Sounds about right. 2K is a realistic goal. I don't know if that's realistic, but it is a possibility. It is a possibility. And it's a possibility because there's so much that Tesla is into. There's a lot of things that can pump this price up and justify a higher price. Just think if we get full self-driving this year. If we get full self-driving, that is massive. The value of that alone going into the future could get us there. So we got to consider those things. You're welcome, BDN. Damien, add in more Tesla today. Well, you're not gonna be able to add it today. You got to wait till tomorrow now. The market's not open. If you know of a place where there's the market open right now and you can add it, let me know. Stock. Do we have a date when Roblox is doing the IPO? We should definitely be in that. Okay, so I was excited for Roblox. I'm not so excited for it anymore. I was reading that they decided to delay it until this year because they saw how DoorDash and Airbnb did, and they thought that they gave away the shares for too cheap because the price went up. What that tells me is that they may come out, like I didn't think Airbnb came out at a good price. Airbnb, behind the scenes, before it came out to the retail traders, it was supposed to come out at $60. And it didn't come out until like $146. Well, at $146, there was half the excitement. Like we only got a small bump up and then it sold off. You couldn't get the excitement from people wanting to buy in, expecting to get in on an exciting company at a low price. That was the thing. It took away all that excitement. And so I'm afraid Roblox is going to come out and do the same thing. So we got to watch and see what they're going to end up coming out as. I was excited for it, though, because my kids used to play the heck out of that. Young kids love it. You can do all kinds of different things on there. My kids don't play it anymore. They play different games. But there's a huge market out there on it, and people spend a lot of money on it. So it's a good one to get into, but it depends on the price. So, David, Webull, be able to buy pre-market. Not right now. You can't buy Webull until 1 a.m. my time, which is another 6 hours away. So in 6 hours, you can start to buy some Tesla. Pre-market's nice on Webull, but sleep is important. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. David says, so bad, you got $500 on Bitcoin at 37K price. Nice. Is it still up there? So what I bought in at today, I bought $5,000 worth of Ethereum that I took out of stock prices, which I'm now up 3% on with Ethereum. I'm up $161. And on Bitcoin, I put in 2,500, and I'm up $125. I'm up 5% on Bitcoin. So that was pretty good. I added a couple hundred to Dogecoin as well. That one's up 2.3%. So I'm up $4 on that one. Dogecoin. So those are the three plays. I moved out of stocks and got into those. Had to try and make up for my losses today when the market dropped. Financial Rose. What's a good entry point for Tesla? It depends on what you're trying to do. What's your goals? The best thing to do with Tesla is to dollar cost average. If you're going to just buy a bunch of shares so that you can sell covered calls, anytime, just look for what you think might be a low point in the day. But dollar cost averaging into Tesla is the best way to get into it and to just hold it. People trying to day trade it, like me, lose. We lose. Vasile, can you share your worst investment story if I have one? Oh, I've got some. What age did I start investing in the stock market? When I was 42. No, I guess it was probably 41. Well, even that's not true. That was when I started most recently. I did a little bit a couple of decades ago or a decade ago, but then I pulled it out. I didn't really do much with it because everything wasn't online here and I couldn't just do it so easily. So, a couple of years ago I got Robinhood and I started playing around in Robinhood. This year I got serious and I put some serious money into it. So, my worst investment story, there's some bad ones, but I will give you two of them. One of them is Tesla. At the split, running up to the split, I would day trade it. I was making money. Tesla was going up every day, and so it was working out pretty good, but I was missing out because I was day trading it. I didn't have 100 shares. I would buy in for the stock price was really high at that time. So I owned 16 shares at the most during that point. But when I started out, I only owned a few shares. And so I wanted to take advantage. This thing would shoot up. I wanted to lock in those gains. So I would lock them in, and then it would shoot up some more. And then a little more, and then I'd buy back in. And then it would shoot up some more, and I would sell again. And then it would shoot up some more, and it would never come back down, so I could buy back in at a lower price than what I sold it. And I ended up missing out on a whole bunch of gains. One of them in particular was I started in in on Tesla before the split announcement. And the day of the split announcement, something happened with Tesla. It like dropped. And for some reason, I was out of it. I had sold earlier that day. They made the announcement and it gapped up massively the next day. And so I missed out on a huge amount of gains. So, it was probably, I probably missed out on, I don't know, it was a few $1,000s worth of gains. Like 5,000 or 8,000, something like that. So, going up, now we get to the split day. And the price is really high, and I'm still day trading it. Making a little bit of money there, but not what I could have if I just bought and hold the damn thing. So we get to the top, and overnight it hits 537 on Webull in the morning hours. Well, I didn't have money in Webull at the time. I still don't have that much in Webull. But my stocks were in Robinhood, and you can't trade in Robinhood at that time. And I was like, dang it, I missed it. And come that morning, Tesla announced the share offering, and the price dropped massively, gapped down, and then it kept going down. And so at the high point, I was up $8,000. So on that run up from the pre-split to the split, I made $8,000 over that 2 weeks. That was more than I'd ever done. It was awesome. I was on cloud 9, and then it dropped. And it dropped. And I ended up, I didn't sell my shares. Well, I kind of sold and bought my shares on the way down, trying to dollar cost average down. And it was effective to some extent, but Tesla went from 537 all the way down to like 370. I went from up 8,000 to down 8,000. $16 swing, and it happened over the course of just a couple of days. So that was one of the biggest investment blunders that I had. I didn't take any profits at the top. That was the problem. I didn't take any profits at the top when it was at the high point, and I should have. So I ended up sitting on shares for too long. Next, the second one, my second blunder. Space. Virgin Galactic, ticker symbol SPCE. We've been waiting for a flight, and the expectation was that the stock price, which was sitting around $20, was going to end up at least around $40. And so we've been buying into it. And what I've been buying, we thought that there would be a flight, one of the first manned test flights that they were going to do, was supposed to happen before Thanksgiving. And so I bought options that expired right around Thanksgiving for the $40 strike price, or $60 strike price. But they were really cheap. They were like 15 cents. Well, they were 40 cents when I started buying in. But they went down in value as when the price would go up and down. And I ended up at an average of about 20 cents, and I owned 500 of these things. I had 12 grand worth of options in on those. The flight got delayed because of COVID. Stock price went down. Options, at one point, those options were worth almost $1. And I didn't take any profits from them because I thought the flight was going to happen. Flight didn't happen. It went all the way back down to 20 cents per option. I thought I was sunk. I held on to them for a little bit longer. They did end up getting back up to 30 cents, and I sold it, and I made a profit because my average was like 20 cents. So I made a decent amount. I made a couple $1,000 on those in the long run. I rolled that into some later options because I thought, well, we're delayed for a couple weeks. They're going to get this flight after Thanksgiving. So I rolled it into some other options, and then we got the flight date. And we got the flight date of, I don't even remember when it was. We got the flight date, okay? We got the flight date. This was last year. Maybe this was around Thanksgiving. I don't even remember. But we got the flight date, and the stock price didn't shoot up right away. And so I loaded up on some calls. And then it went up a little bit, and it started going up, and I kept buying more and more calls. And I was in on like I was sure that this thing was going to fly. And so I bought calls for the day of the flight, expecting that I would make money on those and sell them that day, or it would expire that day and I would make money that day. And then I bought them for the week after because the flight was expected to happen over that weekend. So I had like 10 grand worth of calls expiring that day of the flight and 10 grand worth of calls expiring the next week. And what happened was, on that day, Friday, the day of the flight, when the price was supposed to be going up, well, a couple of days before that, it actually peaked at $35. It peaked at $35. It went up quite a bit. I was way up. I was up like 30 grand. I was up 30 grand or so on all of those calls I'd bought. And then on Wednesday, the flight was on Friday. I'm like, oh man, everything's looking great. This is going to keep going up to Friday. I'll be able to sell these covered calls, or I'll be able to sell these calls that I have, make a bunch of money on those, and then I'll be able to wait and see how the flight is a success for my Friday ones. Well, it turns out Wednesday was the peak. That $35 was the peak. It went down from there, down to like $29 on Friday. And so by then, I wasn't making any money. Like, I kept buying more and more calls, thinking the price was going down, but it's going to come back up on Friday. And so as it was going down to 29, I kept thinking it was going to come back up, and so I kept spending more money. So that was how I ended up with I probably had at least 10,000 in calls. Maybe it was more. Might have been more. But on Friday, so it's at $29. A lot of the ones that I bought aren't making money, and I'm basically out of time. We don't know if the flight's happening this weekend or that Friday. And so my hope was they were going to fly Friday. And they did. We heard about the flight. It was going to go take off, and the stock price started to move up. And then something happened with an engine, and they had to cut it short. And the stock price went down, down, down. And I lost it all. None of those calls ended up in the money on that day that they expired. They all expired worthless. The next Friday, the stock price was down so much by the time the market opened, they were all worthless. And so I went from like 30 grand up on that Wednesday at a $50,000 swing. And so I was $20,000 less. All those options expired. So I had a loss of $50,000 over the course of that 2 weeks. Really over the course of about a week. That was a bad week. But you know what? I did a live stream every day, and I had a smile on my face because I just enjoyed doing this. How do I emotionally handle that swing? It was rough, but I tend to stay. That was my worst option play. It doesn't get worse than that, Oliver. That was my worst one. I actually do pretty good, except for I made some bad mistakes there. So, what can we learn from that lesson? 1, be very careful about buying options that expire the same week. Don't spend a whole lot of money because you lose value so fast, and you don't give yourself the option for any mistakes to happen. Had I instead put that money on options, say April of next year, I wouldn't be able to buy nearly as many options, but they would still have a lot of value. And it's going to fly before then. I wouldn't have lost any of that money. My options would have dropped in value temporarily, but I wouldn't have lost the money. I lost the money because I bought the options that expired that week. And the next week as well, the options I bought required a certain price. And it did not. So going into that Friday, the first one, I thought that I was covered because I thought that the stock price was going to rise until that Friday. And so I thought, with the way that I had my risks out, even if the flight didn't work out, I was going to make all my money on that Friday, enough to cover all the options that I bought the next Friday. I was right on Wednesday. But that changed when the price went down, and I lost that money on Friday. It didn't make up for any potential losses on the next Friday, and I ended up losing them both. And so it was a major, major hit. So, just got to learn the lesson. Hopefully that was an entertaining story for you folks. It was definitely tough. I tend to not get very emotional. So one of the ways, yeah, I bet. One of the ways that I'm able to handle that, is the way I handle everything. I just let stuff slide off. I don't get very anxious. I don't let things bother me. And I just look ahead. I look at, where can I go to now? So one of the things that I talked about in some of my videos or my headlines was, don't panic, plan. So instead of panicking when all of that stuff is losing money, I'm thinking, how am I going to move forward knowing that this is happening? And so that's what I did. I just figured out, how am I going to move forward? Where am I going to replace those? How am I going to make up for those losses? What am I going to do differently so I don't get those same losses again? Because it's kind of important. You're going to lose, you can lose your whole portfolio by doing that a couple of times, right? So that's where we're at. All right, let's see. What did I miss in the questions here? I need a drink. That was hard on my voice. Investors, Insights, and Solutions. Thanks for subscribing. Welcome to the channel. Stock Journey lost $800 in calls. What was my loss? Oh, yeah, I told you what my loss was. And I would be glad if it was only $800 for me. You basically worked a week for free. Yep. David says, that's not bad of a loss. You're scared. It's your second time doing calls. Blue Dog Traveler, would it be helpful if stocks sold like Bitcoin 24/7? Yes, it would in some cases. Right now, the way it works, some people get to trade a lot more hours than other people based on their brokerage firm. And it kind of makes it a little bit unfair at times. So it would be helpful if we could. I don't know when I would rest if that happened, because I would always be paying attention to it though. So it's kind of nice that it doesn't trade 24/7, because you give yourself a chance to relax. Nick, first decent loss was Tesla, lost $100 a share roughly. You panicked and sold it, and as soon as you sold it, it rocketed back up. Oh man, a lot of people did that. Stock Journey, easy to make a call, but anything can happen. That's the scary part, and if you make the call way out, it loses over time. Yeah, well, the challenge is I didn't take any profits when I should have. I should have on that Wednesday. I should have taken some profits, because realistically, I would have been really happy at being 30 grand up, even if that was all I ever got. But I didn't lock any of it in, because I had convinced myself the flight was going to happen, and I had myself covered if it didn't happen, because I convinced myself the stock price was going to keep going up through Friday. That's what happened before. That's what happened when we had flights before. The stock price kept going up until the day of the flight. Only it didn't this time. Somebody realized that, hey, if I get out sooner now at 35, I can lock in my profits, and I might push the share price down a bit, but they'll be okay. At least I've locked in some profits. And that's what I got to get better at doing. It happened to also be your first big stock purchase. Ouch. Stock. Okay, yeah. BDN. Bloody space you've lost too. Yeah, I know. That was a bad one. David, at first you bought 2 calls and bought 6 more, averaged down the cost. Yeah, so that's one way you can do it, and that's what I was doing too. So as it went down, I thought I was averaging down my cost, and I was just getting into a better position to win. The problem is it never went back up. I was figuring, man, this thing at 29, the things that I was buying stuff that it only needed to move up a couple of bucks. The problem is it didn't move up at all, and it just kept going down. So if I had just bought some shares too, I would have been okay. I would have lost money, temporarily, but I had the shares and I could wait for them to come back up. I didn't do that. Let's see. Stock has a feeling if Bitcoin has a major panic, that thing is going to sink like the Titanic. Straight up in the air, straight down to the bottom, lots of life savings. I don't know if that's going to happen this time. There's a lot of institutions getting in on it. So a major panic in this case drives people to Bitcoin, not away from Bitcoin. There's definitely been a sea change with Bitcoin and Ethereum and quite a few other cryptos. But there's been a sea change over the last couple of months. With the Fed pumping money into the economy, there's a lot more people seeing the value in hedging the inflation risk with Bitcoin because there's only so much of it. You can't. It can't be affected by somebody flooding the market with more Bitcoin. So it is a safe place as far as that goes. The more people that believe that, the more people that are going to buy it, and the higher the price is going to go because there's only so many Bitcoins out there. So that's kind of the advantage to it. Now that we're getting way up there, you got a lot of people buying in at these prices. So there's a lot of people. There's not a whole lot of free floating Bitcoin out there compared to the number of people that want to buy it. So volume, what's the phrase? Volume dictates price? No, volume. What is it that Stock Guru says? Volume predicts price. Volume predicts price. In this case, volume is massive on Bitcoin right now. So you'd have to see that volume go away. I don't see that happening at this point. If institutional investors are starting to get into it, banks just got approved to start trading it, or just got approved to start accepting it. Like that's huge. That's huge. I was surprised it didn't pop up sooner on that news. So we're at 37,600 right now on Bitcoin. And Ethereum's at 1,218. I'm now up $231 on what I bought earlier today. Pretty nice. Nick, well, that's way more than you lost. You had to pause the stream and scream F for an hour. Oh, you would have had to pause the stream and scream for an hour. Yeah, no kidding. David lost. Yep. I lost my place. Lost $410 on one option for a month out is really cheap. Yeah, that's not. Oh, no, you didn't say lost. You just laughed. $410 on one option for a month out is really cheap. Yeah, it is. That's not a bad deal. Brian, when you know a company in the industry the company is leading in will be growing massively, there's no emotions involved. Yeah, I definitely have no worries about Tesla right now. So Tesla provides me my safe space. Stock to Nick, just pull the plug. Oliver, when do you see space hitting 40? When the flight happens. And we don't know when the flight happens. They have a terrible PR team. Terrible PR team. They could be putting out regular information, keeping investors happy, and they just don't do it. And it's kind of frustrating. Stock Journey, you just chug a beer and punch the fence. Tomorrow's another day. Paycheck coming in 2 weeks. There you go. David, you panicked on June when you bought one share of Tesla in April. David, you saw minus 2K in one day. Adam, Doge moves so slow. You have 156,000 Dogecoins and you're regretting it. You're regretting it? Dogecoin went up over the last couple of days. I mean, it's definitely a slower movement, but you can own so much more of it. Dogecoin is up 123% in the last week. How can you be disappointed in that? Did you just buy them? Nick, good attitude, Stock Journey. Still learning. You just gotten better at having an iron grip. Now let's hope you don't screw up by holding on too tight to Tesla, and SNDL taught you not to panic. There you go. Oliver, biggest loss was 4,500 in a day. That's just through normal buy and hold. Bad Tesla day. Ouch. Yeah, that can be rough with just buy and hold. I don't lose that much except for with options. Stock. Think I'm going to take the big plunge tomorrow. 100 shares of Tesla, hold and never look back. Straight retirement portfolio check in 5 years. That's a good way to do it, man. I mean, just if you do the covered calls, you can use that to keep buying more shares. I mean, you can use it to do whatever you want, but you can definitely do it to keep buying more shares, especially if you're doing it in a retirement portfolio. You don't want to average because Tesla does not know how to take a break. Yeah, exactly. Just buy your 100 shares and then sell your covered calls. That's it. I mean, that's all you got to do. If it drops down below, if Tesla takes a big drop, you don't necessarily want to sell your covered calls below what you paid for your shares. Okay? Because otherwise you're going to sell them for less than you paid for your shares. But as long as you're selling the covered call for more than you paid for your shares, you're going to make money. You're going to make the premium plus whatever you end up having to sell the shares for. Or you roll out of it. So I think that's a great idea. If I had a retirement account with that much in it, that's what I would be doing. Nick, if you could, you would, then write covered calls that hopefully won't hit forever. Yep. For me, if I was in a retirement account, I would write covered calls that would hit every week. Every week. Actually, I would write covered calls that could potentially hit every week because I would maximize that premium. But that would be the plan. The plan would be to make the money on the premium, not just make the money on the stock going up. Because the premium gets me that guaranteed 100% return over the course of the year. Blah, blah, blah. It's insurance. Yeah, a call can be used as insurance, for sure. Stock. So true. Biggest lesson to any new investor is volume. You can find a penny stock, buy 1 million shares, but you can't sell it because it's not traded in 2 years, zero volume. Yeah, no kidding. Adam, you bought it 2 days ago. Well, 2 days ago, I just bought some today. I'm up a few percentage on it. I mean, yeah, Dogecoin has been up and down, though. So if you bought it at the high point 2 days ago, I can see why you're struggling with that one. Bitcoin's definitely outperforming it over the last couple of days. What's Bitcoin at? For the week, Bitcoin's up 31%. So Dogecoin is up more over the last week than Bitcoin. But it all depends on where the price was at 1 week ago, right? Let's go 1 month. Bitcoin is up 96% for the month. Dogecoin for the month up 206%. So I mean, Dogecoin is actually doing better than Bitcoin in each of those time periods, but it's going to depend on when you bought it. Yeah, it was just bad timing. I've done that too on Dogecoin. I bought some at the high point and missed it. It's really hard because that one moves a lot faster. BDN, Space is issuing one-way ticket. Is it now? Okay, I hadn't heard about that one. Oliver, do you invest in ARK? Not anymore. I did. I had some of all of the ARKs, but I decided to change my strategy because I couldn't own 100 of them. I had 5 of each one, and they actually performed really good. So that was part of my retirement portfolio. I had 5 of each one, and I had made 20% on each one over the course of a month. Really good returns. But I wanted more. I wanted to be invested in a particular stock. And so what I've decided to do in my retirement portfolio is to just put all of it into one stock. And it's a stock that I expect to move that week. So if I do swing trade with it, I do the one stock. If it moves that week, I get out of it for the profits and I move on to the next stock. So that's my plan on my retirement one. And I'm up 50% on my retirement one in there right now. Let's see. I started with 6,000. I guess I'm not quite. Oh, I was up 50%. I put it all in Neo this week, and Neo lost a bunch today. Prior to today, I was up really nicely. Up real nice at one point today. And I actually gave it a quick thought about selling because I could buy back in, but I thought, Neo Day is this weekend. So hopefully it'll pick back up. My plan was to hold it through Neo Day and possibly through earnings. And just, in fact, I may just hold Neo in this account all year. I got 166 shares of Neo. The only downside is it's on Webull, and I can't sell covered. I can't do options in my retirement account on Webull. The only downside to it. Leon, how's it going? What did you miss? We talked about all kinds of stuff. You'll have to watch it. You'll have to go back and watch it later. BDN, that was a joke. One-way ticket to space. Yeah, I get it. Vasil, do I think Biden will have lockdown for COVID? No. I think their team is going to be focused on pumping out the vaccine, and I think that they will probably do a mask requirement, which would be good. I think if everybody started wearing the masks, we wouldn't have to worry about the lockdowns. It doesn't mean it'll stop, but it'll slow it down enough that we can get all of those vaccines out. The vaccine production numbers are terrible right now. Terrible. They've gotten like a couple million vaccines out over the last month, which means for everybody in the U.S. to get vaccinated, it's going to take decades or years. I don't remember. It was a long time. So they definitely are not up on the production. Part of the problem is they did not prepare for it. So it's not like this is an administration problem. We are going to be so glad to have Trump out of there. He did not prepare. He screwed up this whole pandemic in every way you can imagine, except for the one thing that everybody likes to hang their hat on, which is he shut down travel to China fairly early, right? That was the only one thing. But like, you can't hang your hat on that and say he's done a good job. A good job would have been preparing the pipeline to get this vaccine distributed as soon as it's ready. Nobody is prepared to distribute it. It's a mess. And we have a ton of great companies in this country that are really good at distribution. Like, all of them should have been brought into the loop and used to fine-tune this machine so that all of these vaccines could be produced and out ASAP. That's how you save the economy. You don't save the economy by opening it up despite everybody still getting sick and spreading it around. That's a recipe for death and fear. People are not going to go shopping just because they can. Some people will because they have to. Employees are going to work because they have to. But it doesn't create a safe environment. So, Leon, you were up 2K on Neo. Same here. The Trumpitos messed it up. I haven't heard that term before. Is that what you're calling the protesters? The Trumpitos? They torpedoed the stock market, that's for sure. Nick, SB has been seeing you around on these YouTubes. Thought that was you on the election feed. You got drunk watching that, wasn't so sure. Oh, you were talking to Leon. You must have saw him on the Meet Kevin feed. Were you guys watching that one? I was watching that one. Stock says, hold Neo, man. You will not regret it. That's what you're doing. You're holding around 800, holding it like Tesla. Very good. Yeah, I'm hoping Neo is going to be my Tesla this year. That's my hope. What trading platform do I dislike the most? I really don't like Fidelity. I haven't tried Fidelity Pro, but I did get signed up for a regular Fidelity account, and I never funded it. I never funded it because I got the chance to mess around with it on somebody else's account, and like, I hate the layout for the options. I hate having to try and figure out how I'm supposed to buy an option with it. It's really confusing. You can't tell where your profits are if you do spreads. It's just not well done. It's not intuitive. I got spoiled with Robinhood. I'm figuring out Thinkorswim, and I'm actually starting to like Thinkorswim. I hated Thinkorswim to begin with too. As with most of those, the more you do it, the easier it gets for you. So, but for the most part, the one I don't like is Fidelity. Leon, you were on live stream for 10 hours. Oh, wow. Nick, you were there till he cut it. He must have stayed. He must have stayed up really late on that one because I was not. I was on it for 5 hours. Imagine that. I did a live stream that day for a few hours, and then I had to get on someone else's live stream and watch that for 5 hours. Leon likes Neo for long, but right now you just got options. That's a good place to start. It's a good place to start. And in fact, I've got to figure out how to get more Neo in my retirement account. I think I can make another deposit in my retirement account since it's a new year. I'll have to see if I can do that. Leon, hoping the Neo will go up by Friday. Me too. Me too. You were on it all day, but you always come back to me. Oh, then thanks. I'm blushing. You agree, dude is so messed up right now. We should have done so much more. We're way behind as a country in recovery. Yeah. I mean, we could be in a lot better position. A lot better position. Instead of preparing the pipeline for distributing the vaccines, he spent all of the last month crying out fraud in an election that didn't have really any fraud in it. I mean, there's always a little tiny bit of fraud. I think one of the dead people that voted, somebody voted. It was one of them that voted for Trump. That came from the Georgia Secretary of State. There's like 2 dead people that voted in that election. 2. Not going to affect it. It's not going to affect the election. You can't disqualify a state's votes because 2 people committed voting fraud. Sorry. Nick, this is the only community you join, but you watch everything you can on top of your own research. God, you just need to get a job in stocks. This is all you do all day. It's crazy. Well, you've created your own job in it. I mean, you're probably better off doing the trading yourself if you can figure out how to make it work. Leon, he got done like 15 minutes ago. Oh, wow. Oh, was it all day today that you guys did it? It wasn't. You're not talking about yesterday's. You're talking about today's. Wow. I saw there was like 50,000 people watching his earlier today. Oliver, how's the life insurance biz going? Been booked like crazy. Yes, I am still booked like crazy. The channel's taken off, and I always put out my opportunity that people can meet up with me one-on-one. So if you click that link in the chat, you can sign up to have a meeting with me. I do 20-minute consultations on everything from life insurance to maximizing your cash flow. So any way I can help you out, let me know. But yeah, life insurance has been going really good. Stock. That was your exact plan for Neo. 2021 is the year. You're very curious to see what the shares will be in 2021 in December. You're going to challenge yourself on this. Very good. Very good. Yeah, my challenge will be, can I hold them? Because I get, I don't know, I like to sell. I like to buy and sell. So we'll have to see how Neo does. If it goes up a lot, I'll feel a lot better just sitting and holding on it. But for the most part, I tend to think that there's going to be sell-offs that happen, and I like to sell and catch it back at the bottom, especially in my retirement account. Now, I really need to get it switched to a retirement account that I can sell covered calls, because if I could sell covered calls on it, I wouldn't worry about it at all. BDN, Charles Schwab is better than Fidelity in terms of support 24/7. Also, Charles Schwab is public, Fidelity is private. Got it. Oliver, do you do texting as well? Yeah, I can do texting. Leon, you're a daredevil. You think you need life insurance. Life insurance can be tough if you actually do engage in extreme activities. It isn't cheap. It's not cheap. Oliver, stocks is basically flipping stuff at a garage sale without the labor. Yeah, okay, so stocks can work like that. They can also work like real estate, as far as like doing lease options. That's how options work. That's selling covered calls. It's like doing lease options with real estate. It's like renting. It's like renting a building. You're collecting the rent, and you're collecting it as a lease option to somebody. So somebody is paying you for the option to use that building for a certain period of time. That's what the option is. So it works out the same as a lease option in real estate. Skydiving. Yeah, skydiving can be risky. You probably won't get a very good health rating. You might get rated a bit. Doesn't mean we can't have a good looking policy. It depends on the carrier. So there is at least one carrier I can get a pretty good design even with skydiving. So stock. All right, calling it a night. Catch you later. Yeah, I need to call it a night too. We're going on 2 hours. It has been a long day. Vasile, honest thoughts on bingo. I am hoping that they're going to have a great symposium this weekend, that they demonstrate what they can do, and their shares are going to take off. That's my hope. Other than that, I don't know. Check out the video that, what's the guy's name? Tom Nash. Tom Nash did a video on bingo last weekend. So I'd recommend check that one out. I liked it. He went through the fundamentals on it. They look good. It looks like $5 to $7 is probably a pretty fair range right now. And he didn't even mention the symposium. After the symposium happens, it could go up. So Mega Shane's Tesla should be back up. Yep. Well, it looks like we spent the whole day talking stocks. Didn't see anyone else hop on. But we're going to call it a night. No insurance talk today. I'm going to play you guys out with some music, and we will be back on tomorrow morning. Yeah, bingo could go to $6 to $7. Yep. All right, everybody, you guys have a good night. Thanks for joining us today. Be sure to hit the like button on your way out, and we'll see you in Discord. Let's see. I hit the wrong button there. I want to close this one. There we go. See you guys later.